Welcome, kiddies. It's me, your old pal, the Creep from CREEPSHOW, here to tell you that we are back to CREEPSHOW Review Part 2 via your friends, the Creepy Peepers. We've got stories 4 and 5 for you today. So sit back, have a snack, and get ready to be afraid. But first, some fan mail.
Hello, Bailey residents. I am your pediatrician, Dr. Von Shashaki, and I have to sadly inform you that we cannot perform Mr. Nigel Bailey's ingrown toenail removal. It is not a thing that we offer here, so you might have to go to like a nail salon or probably a mechanic. So sorry to inform you.
Honestly, this is my favorite podcast ever. I listen to this when I'm going to sleep. I listen to this when I'm swimming. I listen to this in the shower. I listen to this in the ocean. I listen to this in the grave. This is my favorite podcast, and yeah. Honestly, get me on the podcast. Get me on the podcast.
Hey, it's me, Steve Carell from The Office. I'm currently on set for the movie Furry Vengeance. I think that Dane's a real. All right, see you around.
And thank yous to all the people, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay. So who did we get? We got Ethan, Addie, and Zach.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you done with your freaking popcorn, goldfish?
My big plate.
Are you done with your brownie mayonnaise?
Oh, stop. Don't let me throw up. Hang on, I gotta freaking rewind it to my favorite outro.
Hang on, I gotta rewind my VHS.
Yeah, I have to be kind and rewind really quick. I don't even care if that sounded bad on the recording. I just love that too much.
No, that I understand. It was yeah, it was so funny. Can I tell you something that bugs me though?
And we rise to be.
Can I tell you something that bugs me?
What you got?
You know how, like, when you watch a movie on AMC, like Jurassic Park, they pitch up the sound so the music is like, instead of dun 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 dun, dun it's dun 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 dun, you know?
It's because they speed up the movie.
Yeah, it's copyright
Mhm.
stuff, right? My DVD copy of Creepshow is pitched lower than the Blu-ray copy. So everything that like I hear in the background on your TV is the movie, but it's pitched slightly higher to how I've memorized it as a kid.
So is that good? Like, is it? Well, wait a minute, because this is supposed to be the legit version, right?
Yeah, so my guess is that not only is the DVD itself bad, blurry, no bonus features, but they messed up the sound quality too.
No, you mean you don't get 2003's Dinosaur of the video game?
You're telling me that you don't get to fly around Billy's neighborhood with the creep? Whoa, watch out for that house. Whoa. Come on, we got to get back to my castle.
Yeah.
Oh, you see the creep's castle in Creepshow 2.
Freaking. No. We don't see the creep's castle. We see the old hag who, for some reason, in one of the frames on the comic book, is the creep.
We see substitute creeps.
Substitute creep. No, I feel so bad because like Creepshow 2, those other two stories I think could have made their box office.
Yeah.
The fact that they had only 3 stories, I think hurt them really bad. Just because even if the 3 stories are good, we want the 5 stories.
Right.
Or at least like 4, 3 stories.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready to start?
I'll be honest, I'm gonna leave all this in. This was too good.
Serious?
Yeah. No, because that's
Okay.
good information. Because anybody who's watching the Creepshow DVD, they might be wondering why theirs is also lower.
Yeah. For those of you in Germany with a Creepshow DVD.
Oh, shout out to our New Jersey listeners, by the way.
Oh yeah. Shout out to
Clay.
Clay. Didn't you have a face reveal recently? Anyways.
Oh.
Oh, fan base ruin.
Special thanks to all of our listeners who are gone now because of that.
You look at your stats. Check it out. Ref it. What? 0? What happened to our podcast listeners?
I will say, folks, also, little with that being said, road to 50. By the time of recording, we're at 46 listeners. We're on a road to 50 listeners.
Yeah.
Because
We
this
can
has
do
been
it.
Oh, we can absolutely do it. We can do it probably by tomorrow at this rate.
Okay.
Because the way I mean, this has been like amazing. Like, let me break the fourth wall for a minute before we start. This has been so cool. 2 episodes, we already have almost 50 listeners.
Yes. I mean, thank you.
Yes. I mean, thank you.
No, well, I don't want it to be like, oh, 1 episode in. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, right. We hate you guys. No.
No, but this is better reception than we definitely thought we'd get this soon.
Yeah. Because
I
technically,
thought
it's
the
only been
road to
1
50 would
episode.
take longer.
Yeah, because technically, it's only been 1 episode, really.
Yeah.
And we already have 46 because we're recording this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to jump into the crate?
Enough semantics. Let's jump in.
Yeah. So we pan over to Mike the janitor. Or do you want to read the little
Yeah,
bit that the creep says? I'm sorry. I almost skipped that again.
All right. The comic flies over, and we flip to Mike the janitor, who you don't know yet. Hang on, let me see.
Read what the creep says.
He says, "Thank you for 46 listeners." Also, actually, a little editorial note here. This starts right smack dab in the middle of the movie.
What does?
This segment. It starts right at 1 hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this is a 40-minute segment. Okay.
Wow.
Welcome, kiddies. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a bit edgy. Maybe I'm still feeling the effects of our last story, or maybe it's just because I haven't been out in a long time. That's it. I've got that boxed-in feeling. Which reminds me of another tale in my lurid lexicon, a little fear fable called
The crate.
Bam.
So we pan down to Mike the janitor. No, I'm serious. Okay, his name is Mike the janitor.
No, I'm serious.
That's his character name.
Who's gonna comment on this podcast? But I was gonna give this a 5-star rating, but they said Mike the janitor, and I don't think that's his name. I've never seen the movie, but for some reason I don't believe you.
Okay, we're getting out of this this hole. All right.
The Mike the Janitor iceberg.
Okay, so Mike the janitor has it's a still frame of the coin in the air because he's flipped the coin for absolutely no reason. And he's so old and senile, he drops it. He doesn't catch it. So the coin hits the floor and it rolls, and he makes a dive for it. He slides on his belly. No, I'm kidding, but he does go for it.
He does a Chris Farley move, like a Shamu slide.
He
He does a wrestling move.
he tries to hit it with a chair, like a fold-up chair. There's like a triple sideways kung fu flip in the air.
Jackie Chan. They do a smash cut to Jackie Chan. And we're just supposed to believe that it's still Mike the Janitor.
So the coin rolls
We
underneath
just
the
lost all
stairs.
of our listeners. Only we find this funny.
So the coin rolls underneath the stairs, and we're in the basement of a college, I assume. What is a college? But I'm not sure what sort of like department or area. It's definitely like a sciencey kind of area because there's a lab and stuff. But it rolls underneath the stairs, and the janitor's like, "Oh," he says a really funny cuss word, which they have in the captions.
Yeah, he says fricadille, but like the
Yeah,
actual word.
right.
But it's like weird because he doesn't say it audibly enough that like it should even be like I've seen other movies where they've dubbed over the swear word if there was no reason to have it. For some reason, they just left this one in.
Yeah. And oh, come on, turn your TV down.
I'm sorry.
We're good. I'm talking here. I hear.
And we rise to be.
So
Sorry,
he's
I was trying to match it up to our conversation.
okay. So he's like, he gets his flashlight. He's looking under there. He's like, "Oh, where's my coin? Hey, there's a box." Okay,
I'm sorry.
are my bits that funny?
No, it was. It's just like, okay, so we start out as Mike the Janitor, and then just hear.
Okay.
We're not even a minute into this 40 minutes.
By the way, props to anyone who's listening this far. You're getting a reward here, okay?
Yeah, now we got funny. It only took us 2 hours to get funny.
So he finds this box, which is labeled.
Oh, you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead and read it because
Yeah,
I know I'll
say.
kind of mess it up.
Okay. It says, oh, here we go. Ship to, well, we're gonna see it clearer later, but for now, it says like ship to something that starts with
University.
Yeah, university. And it says like Julia Carpenter, Arctic Expedition, June 1834.
Yeah. So he's like, "Oh, well, whatever. That's there's a box," and he's like, "Hey, what's this box?" And do we cut to the party, or is there anything else?
There's
in
a
this
page
scene?
turn for the transition. There's a page
Yeah,
turn.
okay. We get a we get a page turn, and we cut to this, what I assume is a college teacher's garden party at someone's house.
I thought the new guys that they show at this part were going to be the main characters. Because they, like, for some reason get so much screen. They don't say anything. But because we flip the page and get to them getting, like, introduced to everyone, I was like, oh, okay, these guys are going to be the new guys. And then this annoying woman out of nowhere. Oh, just call me Billy. Snaggletooth on the side.
So yeah, we well, okay, if you're at the scene, because these parts get kind of hazy to me. Who are we introduced to first?
We are introduced to. Sorry, I keep having to rewind because I just let these play. Unless we have to actually look at something.
That's why God invented the pause button, Nigel.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why he invented the pause button.
Let's see if God can invent the mute button for Dane over here. All right. So it says, but at least Henry needs me to take care of him. Yeah, we get a lot of the lady talking. Tabby, Richard, I'd like you to meet Dexter Stanley, our distinguished president. He's going to be our main character for this story.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Or he's one of them?
Yeah, he's the afflicted guy in this.
Because I'm gonna say there's technically two main characters in here.
Yeah.
We just start with Dexter Stanley, and then we kind of hand the torch over to the other guy.
Also, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
This is what I really like about this story is they don't cop it out, but I mean, from what our knowledge is, there's not really anything too bad going on. I'll get to it in a second, but we're gonna talk about this for a second. But yeah.
Yeah. Without like getting really into it, I really like the mystery aspect to this story because there's a lot that happens and there's a lot that's not explained when it comes to like how this happened.
Yeah.
And I like that about this story. So Dexter Stanley's there.
Ooh.
Played by
Actually,
Fritz Weaver.
I will say this, just to not even like spoiling anything. I'm just gonna say only because I didn't actually notice first time watching. So after Billy leaves, who we get introduced to, also very subtle. She's the only one wearing red and everyone wearing gray. Yeah, okay, freaking genius, George Romero. Get out of my freaking way. I don't know. No, because that's the stereotypical. Oh, red. Oh, it's there. She's wearing red. Okay. Settle down. Freaking banging rocks together over here. Oh, I made fire. Okay. Anyway, so we get after Billy takes the Tabby and Richard to the bar. Then we get a shot of Dexter and another man at the party, kind of just exchanging looks in silence.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dexter walks away.
Yeah. He was yeah. Oh my God, I can hear her from your TV.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to find a good level to where I can hear it so you can.
This woman we're talking about is Welma. What's their last name?
Wilma Billy.
Okay. Well, her name is Wilma, but she keeps going around, as Nigel said, just call me Billy. Everyone does because I tell them to. And she is played by a very well-known horror scream queen actress who shows up in many movies throughout the 80s. Adrienne Barbeau, who I had the pleasure of talking to at a convention.
Oh, wait a minute. Should you tell your Tom Savini story now? I was gonna have you say it. I was gonna have you tell it actually during something that tied you over when we had said the one story.
Okay, you want me to tell it now?
Yeah, you can tell. You could tell, and then you could also tell whatever you may have about Adrienne Barbeau.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, no big crazy story happened with Adrienne Barbeau because she's just a very wonderful, nice lady, and got to take a picture with her. And
no, she shot you. No.
Oh, is that what that was? No.
Yeah.
She was very nice. And you know, I was stunned But
I thought you'd be really mean. I thought you'd tell me to call her Billy.
no. What's really sad is I used to remember what I said to her, but I have no idea what I said to her anymore. I just remember what she told me.
What'd she tell you? Can
Oh
I tell you?
no. You know how I'm a fan of the Golden Girls, right, Nigel?
Oh yeah.
Adrian Barbeau starred in a show called Maude with
Yes. B.
Beatrice
Arthur's
Arthur.
show. B. Arthur's
The
show before
Arthur
Golden
show.
Girls.
And I didn't put two and two together at that moment, and she told me, and I went, "Are you serious?" Adrian Barbeau herself had to clue me in.
Actually, to be fair, she does look a bit like she's got that generic curly hair that they all kind of have. She looks like she could have been like Golden Girl, like a lost Golden Girl.
Everyone's trying to find the fifth Beatle. No, you got to find the fifth Golden Girl. But Adrian Barbeau was very nice too. On the other hand, a year later, I met Tom Savini, the great Tom Savini, whose name will come up pretty often, I predict, on this podcast because his special effects makeup work spans across the majority of 80s horror movies and beyond, and even a little before. So, and I was actually I was a huge Tom Savini fan at this time. I had had a documentary about Tom Savini. I watched all these interviews, and here I am. Oh, he's at the convention. Good, let's go see him. So I finally get up to his booth, and I'm like, hey. um, no, I go to the Tom Savini. I say, hey, you checking out Creepy Peepers podcast?
Yeah.
No, no.
Our 47th listener.
I I don't really want to. I don't think I'm actually dogging him for this, but it's kind of like maybe this wasn't such a good day. I don't know who knows why this happened, but he got this call back from ordering lunch, and he just stops me in the middle of my sentence, and he's on the phone, and he's and he looks at me, and he points to the phone. He rolls his eyes I'm sorry, these people on this phone, and I'm like, it's okay, I'll wait. And then he's like, I don't even know what they're talking about. And he hands it to his assistant. and then I'm like, okay. And I start up my story again or whatever I wanted to say to him. And she hands the phone back to him to place his order. Again, I'm assuming, because he's very frustrated at this point. And he's on the phone, and he's listening very intently. And he gets this very serious look on his face. And then all of a sudden his eyes kind of widen a bit. And then he sits back in his chair and he goes, onion rings? He was so shocked. He was like, are you serious? I didn't order onion rings. Onion rings.
Onion rings? 76-year-old man.
Hey, for a 76 or however age guy, he's pretty good. He's actually really muscled up.
No, I was gonna say actually, I was watching what WTF happened at CREEPSHOW 2 on Joe Blow earlier, and they were showing Tom Savini old versus new. They were oh, here's Tom Savini, and so they pulled up the usual stock footage oh, here I am working on the freaking monster. Yeah. Anyway, no, yeah, he does look like he's in pretty good shape.
Yeah. And
you know who else was? Actually, a little honorable mention here. Leslie Nielsen. If you look up Leslie Nielsen on Google and you just go through the first 10 Google images, One of them, because I looked them up earlier today. One of them is of him. I can't remember which movie it was, but I just know, like, because I remember people making jokes about it. They're like, "Oh, like remember when Harry was like, oh, I can deadlift 300 pounds." They were like, "Okay, you may be able to deadlift 300 pounds, but there's no way you're outwinning Leslie Nielsen." And they showed this picture. It's like him in this one movie, and he's shirtless, and he's actually pretty buff, and he's always been old.
Really?
He's over here,
Wow.
handicap parking space, wheelchair. Lex Luthor.
So, anyways, he finally gets the whole lunch situation settled. I tell him what I had to say, and oh, I remember Creepshow, the TV show, was coming out, but like trailers and stuff
Oh.
hadn't been released.
Mm-hmm.
So I go up to him and I'm like, I understand if you can't tell me, but there's this new Creepshow show. You do episode. I just got to know, do you do it justice? Is it just like the original? And he goes, oh yeah, the comics and the pages and they turn and it's, oh yeah, it's just like, don't worry. And I walked away. I was like, yes, I got an exclusive. And yeah, that was pretty good. And here's another funny tidbit. Later on, Tom Savini left his booth to go down to like the actual like merchandise booths, and he bought this spinning globe thing that had like this material that spun around really fast. It was like jelly or something,
Mm-hmm.
but it was so fast it looked like a spinning like globe, like not a globe, crystal ball. It was like crystal ball magic inside a glass ball. And I'm walking around and I see him walking back, and he's got this magic crystal ball thing in his hand, and he's watching it spin.
How many times you gonna say ball? You've got the G Ball logo from our first episode. You said ball like 10 times in the past 2 sentences.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna say it anymore. So he's looking at the ball.
Yeah, I knew it.
No, so he's looking at it very intently. And keep in mind, this is Tom Savini, one of the best movie practical effects creators of film history. And he sits down and he's looking at it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. He's like, yeah. I'm like, how do you think it works? And he looks at it and goes, I don't know.
He doesn't even try. No, I thought you were going to tell me that he was going to be like, how do they do this? It's incredible.
He just looks at it, he goes, I don't know.
Wait, so that wasn't so bad. What? I thought you were going to tell me he like slapped you across the face and told you to go frick yourself.
Well, no, it's still funny, but like, whatever.
Onion rings. Hey, how's it going?
But yeah, that's my tidbit about meeting a couple of the members of this film cast and crew. I'm hopefully looking to meet more one day. I actually wanted to get Hal Holbrook, who plays in The Crate.
Yeah.
I wanted to meet Hal Holbrook because a friend of mine had this like friend in school who was related to Hal Holbrook,
Mhm.
and like he was like, oh, he's my uncle, and I was like, oh, okay, dude, he passed away last year.
I was actually going to say, I was like, is Hal
Serious?
Holbrook still with us?
He was at the time. My friend told me that like, oh, dude, my friend, she's related, and I was like, okay, I'll see him one day. Hook me up. 2 years later, hey, what's Hal Holbrook doing? Ding 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 dong. Ding, ding, dong. Okay, R.I.P. Hal Holbrook. Anyways,
Yeah. Anyway, back to the real
let's
show.
get back to the movie.
Yeah, a little sideshow.
So,
Okay, so
what's happening?
basically, we're at the bar, and Billy looks over and sees a woman in a blue dress. Now, this is where I got confused. I'm like, what's with all the like? Because at first I'm like, okay, who are these two new people? And they're like at the bar. And I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen here? Are they gonna have like some sort of infidelity story again or something? No, they're completely useless and have no bearing on the story.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
But
know
towards
why they
the
show that?
why did they show that?
So basically, they're trying to establish that not only does Dexter Stanley enjoy hanging out with younger women,
Hey, what? I thought you were gonna tell me about Terry and Richard or whatever the names were.
no,
Well, let me get to that
no,
part. Let me get to
listen,
that part.
no, because you said Billy looks over and there's a woman in a blue dress and she
No.
like
But
gives like a
I was
smug
gonna
look.
like say what she was doing.
Oh, okay, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no,
Say
I
what
knew
you were
that
doing.
part. I thought you were talking about the two new
But
people.
but basically they were trying to establish that Billy actually like Billy like is like every like gossiping like hairdo woman like
Oh, okay. Yeah.
oh look at that over there, huh? Typical Dexter Stanley.
Typical Tom Savini ordering onion rings.
Anyways,
Yeah. No, yeah, but we see the woman in blue, and once again, I'm like, oh, they're doing the color thing. Is this going to be like a girl rivalry? She wants Dexter Stanley. But no. So it's going to be because it's going to come up in later. We're gonna hear from Dexter's friend who he was looking at the party, like, oh, what's going on here? Anyway, all that aside, so she's talking to him, and he's like, oh, maybe we can do it sometime tonight, maybe. Oh, okay. And then we look over, and they are friends. So there was no reason for that awkward interaction.
yeah.
Although I'm wondering, well, okay, I guess I'm not wondering. I guess I do know why now they put that scene in, but for the most part, I don't think it really explained it as well as because you would have had to have like gone back and watched that scene again to be like, oh, but even so, it's a little, I don't know. It's not
Is
bad,
it
but
a
it's
far
still,
reach? I think I know what you're trying to say. Do you think it's a far reach?
yeah. Like I know
Okay,
it's supposed to be
we'll
like,
get
oh,
to
look
it
how
at the
annoying
end.
this is.
We'll get to it at the end because there was another podcast that covered this movie that said the same thing.
Yeah, okay. In that case,
So
glad to know I'm not the only one in this boat.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get to that at the end though, because I know what you're talking about.
yeah. Um,
Um, yeah. Continue.
yeah.
What's happening?
So
These
we
party
get
scenes kind of meld together for me.
Yeah, that's fair. There's the only interesting part is coming up. Don't worry, folks. For anyone being like, "Oh, here we go," no. So basically, yeah. See, this scene here is going to be a little bit more. This
No, I
is
can't see.
well, yeah. No. But I pressed play and a scene came that was more. They did a better job of what the scene that we were just talking about that didn't really do such a good job at doing better. Okay, so basically, um, so he looks over to his friend who he was looking at earlier, and he's like, "So I guess you won't be able to play chess tonight, eh?" And he's like, "Well, I guess not." Um, and he's like, "Oh, you got a call." And he's like, "Oh, it's probably just Charlie Garrison, probably going on about his ear mites again, who is a grad student at the university that Dexter teaches at, who really wants to get into science and everything. Pretty good character. We end up meeting him later in the movie.
It's pretty good actually. I like this character.
Yeah, and then we get interrupted. Just call me
Oh,
Billy. Everyone does. And then they both kind of look over like, oh, here we go. Now, see that was a little bit more. I don't want to.
yeah,
I'm trying to say, but like without spoiling. But like I also want to like communicate to you because you know what I'm getting at.
right.
Don't worry, listener. You'll be clued in. Let me. We'll get to it. Okay. Um. So we find out it wasn't Charlie Garrison who called. It was Mike the janitor. He's calling him to tell him about the crate. He's like, hey, I didn't want to just intrude, so I thought I'd give you a call. I know you're off, but I thought I'd call you anyway and see what you thought.
Mm-hmm.
He
And
asks
he
him,
tells him
yeah.
about the crate.
Mm-hmm. And
He's
he's like,
like, boy.
okay, let's one of us
I'm
start.
sorry.
You go.
I'm sorry. Because there's pauses because of the delay. So I
Yeah.
keep thinking that you're urging me to take it on. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Tom Savini, no.
I'm sorry. Continue.
No. I was saying if you wanted to jump in, you could. I was just gonna
No.
say, No, I was just gonna say that. Mike is like, oh hey yeah, so I had to send Charlie Garrison out because I didn't want him to like be snooping around. Not because they don't trust him. Again, he's not that character. He's just like since they didn't even know what it was. They didn't want to be like if it was anything, then they didn't want to get like blasted or anything. So he's like, hey, there's a box down here. It says Arctic Expedition, June 19th, 1834. And then we actually are treated to one of those split screen phone call scenes.
Yeah.
It's a pretty awkward edit, but kind of cool. They do it with the little comic panel bordering as the split. The only thing that's a little awkward about this edit is that rather than just having them stand still and like kind of just fidget like a little bit the way people usually are when they're on the phone, they just freeze frame it after they're done talking.
Right. Because the janitor's like, you can't see my face, but he's like got full bug eyes, mouth. 1834. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's just stuck like that with his eyes and mouth hanging open.
Yeah. But we come back to the party. He's like, all right, I'll be right there. So Dexter, he drives off to go to the university. And then we hear Billy talking again. Very loud, very obnoxious. And what's Hal Holbrook's character's name again? Because we don't actually learn
Because
his
she
name until
says
like
his
halfway
name.
through.
She says, Henry. His name is Henry.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I think Billy's about to say it, but I can't get through the explanation without saying his name. So it's Henry. Anyway, so Henry like calls out to Billy's like, Wilma. Also, that's actually pretty funny. Wilma! Oh, we gotta do Viva Rock Vegas on the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. But so he calls out to Wilma, and the two stiffs from earlier, who again, no bearing on the story other than this one line. They're like, your husband's calling you, Billy. And then Billy turns around. He pulls out a Colt 35 revolver and shoots her in the head.
She goes, oh, God, Henry, what now?
And she gets fully blasted.
He gets blasted with a very good gunshot practical effect by
Yeah, they blew it right out of the back.
Yeah, as you said, because they have her up against a tree. Like most movies, someone gets shot in the head and it's like, oh, head it like explodes out from the front. No. The bullet, you see the hole and you see it explode out the back of her head, and you don't see the blood in the front of the head until as she's like falling down. And it's a good effect.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and then
he's like, everything's just fine.
Yeah, he got back to him. He says everything's just fine. And then we cut back to Billy, who is now like dead, like laying against a tree. And then
play some weird bell music.
And then everyone at the party like turns around, and at first they're like, and you think like, oh, what just happened? No, then they all start clapping, and then he's got this like prideful expression on, like he's Leslie Nielsen, except he actually did what he intended to do. Yeah, he's like, they're like, oh, you got him, yeah, bullseye. But then we find out, obviously, just a dream sequence. That's not really going to be the story. Wilma's like, oh, come on, Henry. Can't you do anything right? I told you in half an hour ago. Yeah.
To get those boys in the monkey suits.
Bring the car around.
Is she talking about the chauffeurs?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, monkey suit? What are they talking about?
Racially motivated. Yeah. But then we cut to Amberson Hall. And they're like, you know what? Your crate's probably just full of old magazines and just plain junk. All the same, though, looks pretty interesting. Arctic Expedition sounds pretty intriguing. And that date.
1834, huh?
Yep.
No, it's full of old EC comics. Oh!
That is, yeah. Deleted scene. Oh, blooper. Oh,
Prank night.
yeah.
Tom Savini's in there.
Tom Savini's onion rings were in the crate.
He's in the crate eating a bunch of onion rings.
Yeah. I'm on break. So we open up the crate. Well, okay, I guess
Well,
they
we
don't
don't
open up the
just
crate, but they
open
like
it
take
right
the
up.
crate out.
All right.
Yeah. They open up the crate and there's nothing in there. This movie's over. That
No, it actually takes them a little while to open it because it's been shut, presumably ever since 1834.
exactly.
And it's kind of suspenseful, and John Harrison's cranking up his synth, and they're banging nails and crowbars in. They pry it open, a little dust flares out, and they're all like,
Yeah, they actually. I mean, it's kind of weird how often movies do this, but this is oddly enough one of the movies that made it believable that like there was that much dust. Now, to
yeah,
be honest, there are a couple scenes in this where they start flicking around dust, and it's like, all right, are you even trying? Like at first, I'm like, all right, yeah, they definitely got some dust down there, and then he starts like smacking it off with like a rag, but he's not like moving it out of the way. He's just literally like whipping a rag against it and like knocking dust up, and it's like, the dust gets you, doesn't it?
yeah.
But yeah, so they take the crate out from under the stairs. They do another pan over comic book panel thing. It shows them carrying the crate into a classroom. They stick it on the table and they begin to pry the crate.
Yes. And actually, when I was describing all that stuff with the crowbars, I was talking about this scene in the classroom. I completely forgot that they went into the stairs to grab it, but of course they did because that's where the crate is.
No, yeah.
Sorry about that, dear listeners. I bet that was a little confusing. But anyways,
Oh,
they
I
pry
almost
it
forgot to
open.
mention.
Yeah.
Mike, the janitor, does feel something shift under the.
That's right.
Yeah. Under the locks and chains on top of the box.
Yeah. So they pry it open. They have the little dust cough fit again. And they're like trying to figure it out. They're trying to look in. Oh, I can't see. And all of a sudden, they hear this little monkey noise from under the crate, and they're like, "What?" Like it makes like a like kind of sound,
Yeah.
and that's what's weird about the Fluffy is the fact that he made that noise because
Oh,
he.
okay. Hang on. Yeah.
Oh.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, yeah, let's not get ahead
Talking
of
about
ourselves.
Fluffy from the stand-up specials, Fluffy Gabriel Iglesias.
Yeah. So yeah, they hear this monkey sound. They're like, "What the?" And then they look in, and Mike the janitor, who is, I guess, really delusional, because he goes, "Monkey sound. Ooh, no, gold."
No, don't say it. Don't say it. You skipped the whole scene.
What? What whole scene? What are
We
you
cut
talking about?
back to Henry and Billy at the house.
Oh, that's right. Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, we get another scene where
Yeah.
like Harry's trying to put on his tie and almost like take out the trash, do the dishes,
Yeah.
sweep the house, and
Yeah. Put the stove.
yeah, wipe the stove, and
And get your friend out of here. I don't want to see you playing chess.
yeah, I hate that stuff he smokes.
Yeah.
He doesn't even smoke like once in this movie either, which is
Yeah, I never
weird.
understood that. I'm gonna pull
You'd
that out of
think
nowhere.
they'd try and connect that, but anyways, she's like, "All right, I'm going now. Goodbye." And he's like, "Here's my chance. Tie a noose with my tie around Wilma." And I feel like at this point, it's kind of obvious that it's another fake out because the red lights kind of come in and it's the same tone as the red light from when he pulled out the gun.
I'll be
And it's
honest.
like, yeah.
They had me on this one because of the lighting. Like,
Oh, really?
well, actually, okay. Here's the thing. I'll be honest. They didn't have me. They could have had me because of the lights. Because I thought they were more pronounced in this since they're inside.
That is
But
true.
I actually paused it to go upstairs and make popcorn and like talk to my mom for a second because she called me upstairs. Right at this scene. In fact, I actually just paused it for the podcast at the same spot where I paused it before, where
Yeah.
he's like actively strangling her.
Hmm.
Yeah. So but it could have gotten me. It could have gotten me. So I see they could have gotten away a second time. It did it a third time. No, it's over.
Yeah, no. But
Fool me once, that's a shame. Fool me twice, how could you? Fool me three times, it's Creepshow 3.
So it cuts to Wilma and she's turned around and she's like, "Yes, Billy. Yes, Billy. That's all you have to say. It's not that hard." Um, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was just thinking about killing that chicken for our dinner tonight." um, and she walks off to go to her
And
book
she
club or something.
says,
I don't know.
"Oh, Henry, what would you do without me?"
That's right. Oh, what would you do without me? And he's like, "Oh," like every 8-year-old.
And then she's like, "Well, on that we're even." And at first you're like, "Oh, okay, so maybe she's got like maybe just a little bit, she's a little bit irritable." Um,
Yeah.
and then the guy's like, "I guess we are." And then she's like, "Enjoy your chats," and then she goes. Complete mood switch.
Enjoy your chest.
Yeah.
uh,
I'm gonna go eat onion rings with Tom Savini.
so do we cut back at this
Yeah, we
point?
cut back. We cut back to
Okay.
them trying to open the crate.
So yeah, we cut back, and as I was saying,
They take their time with this scene too, by the way. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, it builds the suspense well, but wow, they like took a while.
it feels long, but it is a short scene, but it
Yeah, it's
definitely
not
does
like that
feel
long.
long.
I just feel like they make it feel long.
Yeah.
This was one of
But
the
yeah,
good dust scenes. He like
yeah,
opens it a little bit, he blows on it, the dust because the dust doesn't go towards him, it actually like blows away. Um
yeah.
yeah. But they start
And
pulling out all the nails and stuff on the crate, and they're like, "Oh, let's get this out of here. Let's deal with this. Let's deal with that." And they're finally able to get it a little bit open.
and there's like cobwebs
And it
lining the
smells.
whole thing,
It
and it
smells too.
smells.
I was gonna
It's
say,
kind of stinky.
nice little detail.
Uh-huh. It's kind of stinky.
Yeah.
But like, what I don't understand is like they're making it to be like inside the box is so pitch black dark that they can't see a thing. Are you kidding me? They have all the lights on in that lab. You telling me that you don't open a box a little bit and a little bit of light doesn't flood in there? It's still
No,
completely
they
dark.
do. They
Come
do. They
on.
do. They do. Sorry. I had to get loud for a second right at the end when I just said they do because I didn't want to spoil anything. Because I just got to a scare part. But no, yeah, actually, they do see a sliver. They
They
see a
see this
sliver
later.
with two shiny yellow things that Mike
And
the janitor, who we've been rooting for, like a freaking idiot, thinks are emeralds. Emeralds are green, Mike, not yellow. Get your act together. This is why you're a janitor.
yeah. He
Um,
goes, there are
yeah.
a couple of emeralds.
And then
and
Dexter's like, "No, don't."
and he reaches his hand in. It turns out those two emerald pieces are a pair of yellow eyes.
Yeah.
And he reaches his arm in, and the electrician has a huge problem because suddenly half of the lights turn blue and red. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, he reaches his hand in, and the John Harrison score at this part with the synth like
Yeah, I was gonna say
really
it's
great
full
music
shock
during
there.
this scene. The full shock mode. The room is completely flooded in red and blue lighting, and Mr. Mike the janitor has his hand in this box, and it's being chewed on
I don't
by
get
this
why is he
creature.
not like. I mean, even if you were like in shock and like bleeding out and everything, why is he not like reacting at all?
Like you said, it's probably that's as much as I can chalk it up to. And he's
Yeah.
old, and he's senile. He thought
Actually,
those eyes
yeah,
were
he
emeralds.
thought they were emeralds. I don't think he knows what pain is.
So uh Dexter like flies back, drops the crowbar. He's like trying to pull Mike out, but then he's like Mike and the box kind of tip over, and it knocks Dex down for some reason, like halfway across the room.
Yeah.
And Mike the janitor is just kind of is like just sitting there, like panting with his hand still in the box, only because the creature is still like holding onto his hand and eating it because we see blood kind of trickle down his arm.
Well, no, that was what I meant when I was saying like why isn't he giving a bigger reaction there?
Maybe he's just like, I don't know, like maybe this is just it's
It
just a
doesn't hurt
lot.
that bad actually. Where are those emeralds?
Oh, oh, it's
There
just
are
my
no
fingers.
emeralds.
So Dexter is for some reason very, very slowly inching his way towards Mike the janitor,
I
who
was
should be
worried.
only a couple inches away.
I was
But
gonna
like
say
you
I was
said,
worried that they were gonna do the cop out. Either that they were gonna do the it's gonna happen. They were gonna jump scare, or that they were gonna do the and then he was gonna get pulled in.
well, they did one of those.
Yeah,
He gets up to Mike the janitor, and because the crate is like tipped over on its like front, the lid swings open, and we get our first good look
my
at
favorite reveal: Scary and the Hendersons.
no, we get our first good look at our aforementioned Fluffy, and he is what I can only describe as like a wolf yeti thing.
Yeah, no, I genuinely thought I like that was a bit, but genuinely, I thought they just used that same Harry and the Hendersons model for this, and then ended up using it for Harry because Harry and the Hendersons came out after this. I thought they
Right.
just used the same like mold for this
Yeah.
because when they do the first reveal, even though it's not even a guy playing it, it's like Harry and the Hendersons. It was a guy playing Harry. By the way, anyone who hasn't seen Harry and the Hendersons, it's a movie about Bigfoot meeting a family. We're gonna do it on the podcast. Yeah, but basically, it's about Bigfoot, and there's a guy who plays him like in a costume suit that has like animatronic like facial movements. Or is it puppet? Is it puppet or animatronic?
It's a mix. There's some shots where they use it's like a hand puppet,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some shots where it's like the suit with the controlled mask.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's a mix, but this, other than I think of like maybe a couple scenes, Fluffy, which is the behind the scenes name for the Yeti character, is controlled by a person, only for like a couple scenes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, though, he's all animatronic. When they did this first reveal, I could have sworn they just retextured the hair, or well, I guess not even retextured. I guess it's just the original texture for it. But I thought it was the Harry and the Hendersons
It
thing.
looks very similar. He's
It looks
very
just like it. He even does the smile that he gives Harry. You could have snuck that into the Harry and the Hendersons trailer, and I wouldn't have even noticed. He looks
yeah,
just like Harry when he does that little like cheeky smile with like the lip flap.
yeah. Yeah, this fluffy creature, his fur and he's very Yeti slash wolf like, but like his facial features are extremely ape like.
Exactly.
So, and this creature, he's not exactly an ape because he's like all torso, all jaw, all teeth, tiny eyes, tiny head, and tiny legs.
Yeah, we're gonna get
Like
to like his like physical makeup in a minute, but we find out he looks fricked. He looks absolutely blasted. But
yeah.
anyway, he runs out of the room. Oh, sorry. No. Let me not get ahead of myself. Mike gets pulled up into the crate, and I'll be honest, the amount of blood that like comes out of like it's like he's getting steamrolled in there. He gets juiced like an orange.
Yes. And you can see it just running down his shirt,
Oh,
and oh, he's done for.
nice little detail here that they did add that I did like. So, because I already knew this, like most old lab tables have an outlet on the front,
Uh-huh.
and when the blood drips into the outlet, I'm like, nah, I guarantee you they're gonna forget that they did that little like
It
spark
does the
pop.
shock. It
Yeah,
did the little spark.
good on
Yeah,
him. Good on him for
yeah,
remembering
that was
that.
great. I've always appreciated that little moment. Um, so then Dexter takes off, and we do Charlie walking down the hall, pressing this big like soda drink up against his face. I guess there's like a tooth hurting. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, let me also a little like on the fly like cliff note. I thought Charlie was gonna be like 22, like, oh, hey, what's going on? Like, this is really an interesting case, because they're like, oh, wow, yeah, he's really interested in his studies. Let me get this generic protagonist in a movie, like 80s movie, Rick Moranis knockoff character. This guy looks like 36. I have no idea who they think they're fooling. He's like slipping a Pepsi. He's like listening to freaking "Don't Let It Go." Ed Harris in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a letdown for this reveal.
Yeah. So he's walking down the hallway, and Dexter is just like Naruto running out from the stairs and like running down the hallway. And he's like, "Oh, Charlie!" And Charlie's like, "Dexter, slow down. Did you see pink elephants?" No.
Yeah.
Um, Charlie's dialogue is really funny, but Dexter's like, "There's a monster," and he's like, "Okay, how about I go see how the land lays?" And he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh no," and he's like, "I'll be back," and he runs down the stairs, and he just kind of stays there. And he's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Charlie, Charlie."
Yeah. He thinks that the monster got him, first of all.
Yeah. And then we cut to the lab, unfiltered with red and blue lights. So we get to
Actually,
see that.
wait a minute. Really quick. I do want to say, before Charlie runs down the stairs, he does. We need to get the campus police.
That's
Now, am
right.
I the only one who just imagined like Paul Blart Mall Cop and then this Bigfoot creature just goring everyone?
Yeah. Um, so we cut to the lab, which is unfiltered with red and blue lights, which now allows us to see the aftermath and the amounts of blood just like everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
it was like a crime scene in there.
it's like a full-on crime scene, and then we just cut to Charlie just like just standing there, and
With
Dexter's
his
like,
Pepsi.
yeah, yeah. And Dexter then does a cheapo jump scare, tap on the shoulder, and he's like, "Oh, see, check it out." And Charlie, for a moment, like, and he's like, "What? You think I did it? Look at the blood. Look."
Yeah, I was so worried that they were gonna stick to this, but I'm glad they didn't like waste any time on this for like a long time. Only because Okay, because they also, again, they could have done this cop out too. There's two cop outs in one that they could have done here. Number one, they could have spent way more time on this and done like the little usual, like, oh, you're gonna go, oh, you're gonna, but they also could have done the whole like, oh, he accidentally gets blood on him, and then he really thinks that he's a killer. But no.
Yeah.
Luckily, he even when walking through that scene, he really tries to avoid like even stepping in the blood.
That's true.
And then Charlie's like, "Oh, okay, no, you didn't do it," because they find that this trail of blood leads to back under the stairs where the crate originally lied.
Ooh. Yeah, Fluffy moved his home from off the table and back under the stairs, which we actually get like a whole scene. Um, Not showing Fluffy pushing because obviously that kind of would look goofy, you know, like oh oh. um, we just see like the crate kind of like coming around the corner, and we see the shadow of Fluffy for like a second. Um, but yeah, the crate's back on the stairs. He's like, it pushed it back under the stairs. And Charlie's like, let's go. Grab a flashlight. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Let
He's
me
like,
see if my ear mites are down here.
so they're checking out under the stairs. They find Mike's boot, which is like all chewed up and covered in blood. And he's like, man, I want to measure the bite marks on this thing. And he messes around with the flashlight, and Fluffy comes out from like the corner of the stairs in like the darkness, and we get the red blue lights again, and Fluffy makes his attack, and he
Actually,
like,
wait.
yeah.
There's another thing I noticed. Good on
Hmm.
Dexter. Well, I guess inadvertently good on Dexter for having this, like having the, I guess, sentiment to like pick up Mike the janitor's boot when it gets like kicked over to him by Charlie. And he
Oh
like
yeah, that's
holds it
right.
with him. It's a little sweet, but it also comes in handy for when he's explaining his story later on.
Right.
But yeah, as you said, he gets attacked. But this is one of the great scenes of the movie that people really like to use as like a people really like to use this scene as like the, oh, look how scary this movie is, like on
Yeah,
YouTube videos
this
talking
is
about
one
it.
of the. I think this might be the goriest moment of the movie
Yeah, they
for
show a
sure.
shot of Fluffy's mouth, and it's like like the teeth are
Oh
dripping.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were talking about the teeth part. That shot
No,
is
no,
really
no. It's
cool.
still
But
either way.
this specific death of Charlie is it's I think the goriest death out of
You're
every
absolutely right.
story, out of every like moment. Like this is like the really messed up one. Um
Only because, actually, you know what I just thought of too?
yeah.
This is the only death, or this is the only story that contains deaths that aren't revenge.
That's true.
They have seemingly, I think that's probably the reason why it's so unsettling.
It happens.
The entire like Yeti kill library, even the Yeti's existence in itself, it has nothing to do with vengeful spirits or anything, or like any sort of vengeance. That comes later in the story. So
Right.
that's a little bit unfortunate, but not unheard of within the plot.
Yeah. The it's unsettling as you said because it just so happens that this is in this university.
Yeah.
Um so uh he- does he slashes Charlie's shoulder
Yeah, he slashes the shoulder with the
first
claws. We get another
with the claws.
amazing shock scene. This one really like goes hard with like the red and blue lights.
Yes. And then I think Dexter kind of makes him, and Charlie tries to, or no, Dexter throws something. He throws a crowbar at Fluffy, which hits him in the head. or something like that. And then Charlie tries to make a run for it, and then Fluffy grabs him.
No.
Oh no!
Yeah, I was gonna
Sorry, I
say
got that all wrong.
Charlie
Sorry,
does the he
Charlie
hits him
hits
with a
Fluffy
wrench.
with a wrench,
Yeah.
and Fluffy like dives on him. Somehow he gets away though, but he's almost out of the basement, and he Fluffy pulls him back, and here's this really gory moment. This gore again, the goriest part of the movie. Fluffy then like bites a huge chunk of like skin and meat off of the
Yeah.
side of Charlie's head and like his ear. And this shot is when they used the puppet because they it was like someone's hand on the puppet and they were just like pulling back and for the effect. But
Mhm.
he rips that whole chunk off and like there's blood squirting out. And then he's done with that and Dexter's like, oh, and
that, that I actually have that in my notes. I thought
what?
it was really funny. I just thought it was so funny. Like they had me like through the death. I'm like, oh wow, they really went hard on this one. And then we cut back to Dexter. He's like,
Yeah, why is he still here? He's just watching. You're like, oh.
yeah. But it was just a reaction. Oh, Charlie.
And Fluffy like shoves Charlie and then claws down his face.
Yeah, like he gets, oh, oof,
He gets like messed up. And then
destroy.
Dexter takes off up the stairs and we see Fluffy pull Charlie's body under the stairs.
Mhm.
And Dexter is like blasting Harry's or not Harry. He's blasting Henry's doorbell, which is like a buzzer. And
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hang on. You might have. Oh no. I was gonna say I guess I just like looked away for a second. I was gonna say I didn't notice that at first, but no, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's a buzzer doorbell.
yeah, and Henry opens the door and he immediately like runs right into his house and he's like up against the wall and he's like and and Henry's surprisingly really calm. He's just like, yeah, man, why you late? What's wrong?
Yeah, actually,
And
even and let me say, little props to Dexter's actor. They like he really like I know like oh we were saying like Leslie Nielsen. Me and you were like talking like privately earlier. We were like, oh yeah, Leslie Nielsen did a really great job considering that comedy or not, every time we see him, he's like always playing something serious. And he does do that for this movie until he doesn't. And when he doesn't and he's like scared and vulnerable, and then even when we do see him laugh, then it's like a really like great manic like scene.
right,
In
it's pretty
this,
funny.
Dexter's actor like takes that and cranks that up to like 200. It looks great.
Exactly.
He's doing a great job in this. Like I don't even know who the actor is.
Chris
Um
Weaver.
okay, yeah. He does a
Hmm.
great job with this.
Yeah. I kind of forgot about how good of a job he actually did in this because yeah, I'm thinking back and it's like, oh yeah, those scenes with him
All you could
freaking
think
out
of
are
was
pretty good. Yeah. No, also I forgot to mention when Charlie's inspecting underneath the stairs before he gets attacked, there's this funny moment where he inches just a little bit closer and Dexter goes, "Charlie, don't go near it."
That's right, yeah.
And I just think that's funny. But anyways, Henry's just like, "Here, tell me what happened. Why don't you have some tea and calm down?"
Yeah.
And so we cut to Dexter like talking and I guess it's because he's shocked and it's like a Logan Paul moment, but like he literally no, he said he wanted to get the size of the bite marks. Oh, well, he really got his shot. And he's
Yeah,
like
he does
losing his
another
mind.
manic laughter.
Yeah, he does like manic laugh, and he's like, "There's a thing in the crate, and I didn't even know what it was."
Yeah.
He starts just laughing. He's like, "Who's dead? Harry? Not Harry? Oh my god, dude! The characters' names in this movies are so uninspired, and they gel together. There's two
Harry,
Richard,
Henry.
Harry, Henry. Anyways, he's like, "Tell me who is dead? What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Okay, let me tell you the story again." And then, what happens after that? Does he go and fix him a drink yet?
He does. So
Oh,
he actually what happened?
you freaking yawning over here.
Well, I yawn once. What can I freaking? Oh, you want to edit that out of the podcast? I put the censor bleep over it. Um,
Out of nowhere.
yeah. No. So Henry, oddly enough, like they wasted no time. They're like, oh, this story's already running way too long. So Henry just believes him. He's like, yeah, okay. Um,
Yeah,
let me
that's
fix
also
you a drink.
that's something I kept thinking about. Like how come he so easily believes this crazy story?
I actually have a theory as to why that I'll get in after we like all is said and done with this. So
Okay,
remind me. But
okay.
I want to come back to that. So basically, he goes to fix him a drink and Seinfelds him, even though there's grand scheme no real reason to. He basically drugs his drink to make him like pass out. And Dane, to give you a little context, maybe even any listeners watching, there's an episode of Seinfeld, one that's actually a little criticized right now. Um, Jerry wants to play with his girlfriend's like collectible, like she has like these really like antique toys from like the 80s and stuff, like oh GI Joe with the frog suit, and he's like, oh I want to play with it, I want to play with it, but she's like, no, those are my father's, you can't play with those are priceless. He's like, oh okay, have some more turkey and wine. And then he's like, all right, I've had enough turkey and wine. I'm still awake. Let's go do something. And then he's like, all right, I'll just get some water. He's like, hey, can you get me a aspirin? Not the other ones, though. They make me drowsy. Drowsy, you say? So he grabs drowsy ones and then she falls asleep and he just plays with her toys.
Why?
He
Okay.
drugged her. He drugged him
No,
and
no, no, no,
made.
no. No, I got that. How come that's like a Seinfeld episode? That like who sat down and was like, dude, she won't let him play with toys,
I
so
don't know.
he drugged
That's why it
her.
gets dogged now. And they're like, oh no, because the episode itself, like that's not even the main focus of the episode. The episode's called The Merv Griffin Show. Kramer finds a bunch of like talk show set stuff in the trash from the Merv Griffin Show. He's like, I can make my own Merv Griffin show. And he does. And he has everyone on. He's like, my good friend George Costanza. Um, yeah. And then they actually do a bit later where Jerry talks about him drugging the lady. And then he's like, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is a family show. But would you believe it? Our special guest, Jerry's girlfriend. And then she's like, you drugged me to play with my toys? Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's actually a pretty funny episode, like story wise.
Okay.
But it's a little doggable, just the whole
Yeah, that
Bill Cosby thing, basically.
that plot just seemed absurd to me. Anyways,
Yeah.
um,
Back to the show.
he, he drugs his friend to go and hatch a plan.
Yes, he
He gets
does.
his idea. He says to himself, he goes, "Hey, monster that I've never seen before. My wife is I've been having fantasies of killing my wife. Let's see what we can do here."
Exactly. He gets a little idea.
So he's like, let's make some magic happen. He puts some jazz hands on, and he writes a letter to Welma. Um, and leaves the house. And he goes off to go and clean the blood and make the lab look all nice and enticing for his little scheme. And during which it's a really cool scene with the crate theme song playing on the piano, and we see like interlooped cuts of Velma coming home, reading the note, making milk and whiskey,
I think so. Yeah, I think that's it.
which, like I said before, when I have a Creepshow watch party, I will be serving vodka orange juice and milk whiskey.
I was gonna say that was the weirdest drink, and actually, I think yeah, that's in my notes. I have. Hang on. Oh, right. I also have this in my notes. Dexter's Laboratory. Ha ha ha. Lol. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wilma just holding a glass of milk for like an hour.
She does hold it for an hour, you're right.
She's just
Um,
like she holds it while reading the note in the car as she's
oh my
coming down the
God,
stairs to the lab.
you're right.
How
She
are you
holds that
not
drink
done?
forever. Yeah,
Julian from Trailer Park Boys over here, just always holding a drink.
especially like a character that's like supposed to be as drunk as she is. That glass would have been gone.
Yeah.
She would have slammed it down before she left.
Also,
Anyways,
who brings a glass with them?
no one.
Yeah, like
Well,
usually, like that's
does.
why, like usually in like movies where it's like, oh, this character's got an alcohol problem, they'll have him put it in like a one of those like gas station cups or whatever. You're just holding a glass of milk like you're freaking Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch.
Holding a glass of milk like you're Alex from Clockwork Orange. Anyways, she shows up in the middle of Henry like being the janitor for a while. Um, she's like, Henry. Somehow she like makes it down the hallway in record time, like Olympic style, speeds down the hall throughout the entirety of Holrich University.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets down the stairs, and he's like, "Oh, I need your help." And she's like, "Whose glasses are these? You don't need glasses." He's like, "No, no, no, no." Anyways,
Yeah, like it's
um,
fine.
he's basically like, "Dude, Dexter and this young girl, they had an argument. Apparently, he beat her. She's in hysterics, and she's crawled under the stairs and won't come out." What? What kind of story is that?
Yeah, I'll be honest. He gets flimsier and flimsier as she gets closer, but it makes sense. You don't need to come up with that big of an excuse. The closer you get to like your
The D.
crime, you know?
Yeah. Um, basically, he's like, yeah, and she goes, "Oh my God, did he like hurt her? Oh my gosh." And I actually feel like I can't tell the way Adrian Barbeau plays it. I can't tell if Velma is like, "Oh, let me go dog on this girl," or if
Yeah,
she's
because
like,
she's
"Oh
like
my God,
laughing a little bit.
can we?" She's laughing a little bit, but I can't tell if she's like, "Oh, let's go dog on her," or if she's like, "Oh, let's go help her. What did he do to her?"
I think it's help only because we actually do get because actually inadvertently, not because of the story he's concocted, but because of what he's about to do. Henry starts laughing, and she's like, "What is so funny? This is serious."
No, I think from what because I heard this explained before, he starts laughing because he's lying to her face and he knows what he's trying to do and he just starts thinking it's really funny. That's basically what I heard. I heard that explanation. Um, that's basically what that is supposed to be. He's just because like imagine like especially you because I know you like, you're like, oh yeah, my friend Dexter, he hit a girl. She's under the stairs. You want to go look?
Can I tell you?
Did I tell you? Like that's what's funny. So she goes over to the stairs and she's about to like go under, and he's like, I know you can get her out. I know you can get her out. And he runs over and he pushes her under the stairs and he's slamming her back against the crate box. And
Yeah.
he's like, get in there, Wilma. Just tell him to call you Billy. And she's like, stop. What are you doing? Stop. And
Yeah, quit messing around. Like he really gets in there. I'm so surprised that she doesn't react more.
and he's trying to wake up the crate monster and to eat her, and he's not. He doesn't show up, and he's slowing down. He's like, wake up," and he's like, "Oh, I guess
Yeah.
Dexter is delusional.
He's
I
so
guess my friend
sad.
is freaking crazy. Crate monster isn't real."
Mm.
And Wilma's like, "You're a regular barnyard exhibit. Uh,
She's not worried
piggy
about the fact that
friends."
she's like getting slammed up against this crate. Because it doesn't the crate still have like blood all over it? Like he cleaned up the blood like around it, but the crate's still covered in blood, right?
I think because of the lighting, she doesn't notice because it's
That's
like
fair.
dark and under the stairs.
Yeah, because I'm
But
watching it right now, and it actually is really hard to tell that there's still blood on it.
yeah,
I can't imagine what it looks like on that CRT TV.
she's like, "You're a regular barnyard exhibit. Uh, piggy friends. Uh,
I never understood that one. She's like sheep's eyes, chicken guts, piggy friends. What is piggy friends? You named body parts and then piggy friends?
yeah, piggy friends and manure for brains." And he's just like, "Oh," he gets back into his 8-year-old like mode. He's like, "Oh, yeah,
Nobody
oh."
steals my toys.
And she's like, "Now get out of my way, Henry, or I swear I'm gonna wear your balls for earrings."
That's
And
my
if you,
favorite line. That is actually a really good line. That's a great
it is
bully
a really
line.
good line. I love that line. It's so quotable.
You'll be
And
wearing balls or earrings. That's up there with have you seen that whore crap?
so she's like, "Get out of my way. If you touch me again," and then all of a sudden the crate finally opens and we get, a couple scream shock cuts, and Fluffy goes, "Thank you."
I'll be honest. When Fluffy bites Billy, it kind of looks like he's doing that like sailor like dip and kiss.
It does kind of look like that.
Yeah, but then my favorite part. Speaking of the 8-year-old moment, he tries the line again just for the sake of his ego. He's like, just tell it to go, you Billy.
And then he goes, "Ooh."
Yeah, exactly.
And he runs upstairs and he's gonna puke and he opens the window to get air. And let me tell you this fun tidbit. I've actually seen like videos of that building in real life. That hallway is on like the third floor, and
Yeah, I was
he
gonna say
opens the window and sits on the edge of like the 3-story like university building. He
Mhm.
could have easily fallen out. Um, so what happens after we see him vomiting out the window?
We see him go to lock up the crate.
Oh yeah, we get this very tense, quiet scene. We get a couple jump scares of like Fluffy like trying to get his fingernails out, which is a
I will admit
callback
though,
to the intro.
this was perfect. The little like where he has it like just barely where it's like, oh no, he's gonna because the way that he has the lock before Fluffy like tries to like keep it open and everything is turned in such a way that it's like perfectly holding the lock down enough to where he can't really
Yeah.
get out.
Yeah. It's like, oh, stroke of luck.
Yeah.
Um, so then he oh, I heard the jump scare noise.
I
um
mean, to be fair though, he had it like, well, I mean, I guess he still does it, but like, I was gonna say, No, I get it. I was about to nitpick. I was gonna be like, well, he could definitely click the lock shut. Not only does he click the lock shut, but I do get like being rattled. You just watch this. You just watch Harry from Harry and the Hendersons eat your wife.
Yeah. And he
But
gets a locked up,
we
and he
cut
gets
to
yeah.
the comic book special effects again as he's rolling the crate down the hall
Oh,
and
and we
gives
get
the
the two
monologue.
shots back to back, like on the comic panel of like him going either direction, where it's like a forward shot and a backward shot.
Hmm.
That shot's really cool. I really like that moment. Um, and we start to hear like a narration, right, at this point,
Yeah,
and
and
he
I
it's
will say
basically
actually,
yeah.
when they cut to him in the car during this like montage of him like trying to like dispose of the crate, that is a 4K scene for sure.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't know when they cut back the way that the lighting is too. I'm kind of like, oh wow, what is this film like yesterday?
Yeah, it's a really good moment. We get to him. He unloads the crate out of his car,
Oh
and
yeah,
he
is the monster like? Are we supposed to be like, oh, he's accepting his fate? When he does that one like reach out of the box where it's like his fingers, then he goes back in and he kind of just like stays.
I don't know. I think he's just an animal, and he just kind of moves with emotions. I don't know if like he's like, oh, I know what's happening, but we do hear like because he rolls the box to the edge of Ryder's Quarry, which is this cliff, and there's this creek, and then he pushes it over, and we hear this sad like growl as he pushes it in. It's like, "Ah, whoa."
Yeah, it makes sort of Pee
And
Wee's Playhouse noise.
yeah, it goes into the water, and that's that. We cut back to Henry's house. Dexter's there, and he's like, "That's it. There's no evidence of foul play. There's no bodies. There's no creature. We're all good. Now we can have our gay little chess time."
Yeah, they sit down for a game of chess like nothing ever happened. And you
And
know what? I'll actually say
go ahead.
this is a nice little ending. Like
What
this
was
is
your point though that you wanted to get to before about these two characters with their
okay.
looks? Now that we're
So
here,
so that look, actually, I'll get to both of them. I'll get to this and the little why Henry believed Dexter so fast.
yeah.
Okay, so my thing with the look was that I mean, of course, now we know like I'm gonna try to kill my wife and everything. So had I'm assuming maybe Henry had told Dexter that he maybe wanted to kill his wife in
I
passing, which
I
is
I'm
why the
guessing.
look was given and it was so like uncomfortable and he just walked right away.
That's true because the way they cut back to Henry explaining how he got rid of the evidence, it's like they did talk about it previously.
Yeah.
That's right. I never thought of that before. You're right. But he's like, yeah, now let's have chess. And
The other thing that I was gonna say was
yeah, the
that my theory
believability.
about why he believes him was just that like, oh, you know what? I think that it was just supposed to be that he was so eager like to jump on the idea of maybe I can kill my wife and get away with it that that's why he decided to believe him like without any like pushback.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I agree. Because he wants this so bad. He wants it so bad he daydreams a murder scene every 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's over here Jordy Verrill at the doctor's office.
Yeah. So then we cut to Fluffy in the box under the water, and we think, oh, his claw's hanging out, he's not moving. Is he dead? And all of a sudden the box breaks open, and we see bubbles float to the surface. And instead of something else we should have seen float to the surface, we just see Fluffy's eyes. Um,
We
and
see the sliver. We see the same sliver as
we see
initially
the
given.
same sliver that started this whole thing. And that's
Mhm.
where the story ends. Do you want me to tell them what we were supposed to see on that scene that was cut out?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when Fluffy breaks that crate open and we get the shot of the bubbles rising up to the surface of the water, we were originally supposed to see the like mauled body parts of like Welma, Charlie, and maybe even Mike the janitor float up to the surface.
That's
Which,
absolutely right. Yeah, they would float right up. And I've already told you my theory on why it was cut.
yeah,
Yeah, just the whole. I don't know. It just it
it
seems
would
like
have been much.
too.
It would have been a
Yeah,
little much.
and I think I
Um,
think I know why. This is
yeah,
already the goriest story in it
right.
because the one scene with Charlie Garrison. So it would have been like, oh great, like it might have been. I could see why they were like, you know what, maybe not. I think maybe the little sliver is just fine.
Yeah, but also because they didn't, because it is gory, but it's not like excessive. They leave a lot to your imagination.
And it's also monster. It's not just like, oh, let me murder you.
Right. I feel like it would have been cool if they did use the body parts floating up because they left so much to your imagination. Then out of nowhere, it's like, here they are. Oh my God. And it also kind of caps it off because it's like, here's all the victims that Fluffy got throughout the story. And then we get the shot of Fluffy's eyes over top the body parts. That would have been a really cool visual, like ending sort of metaphor. Not metaphor,
Absolutely. No, I see
but
what you mean.
like you know what I mean. It would have
Mm-hmm.
been a cool it would have been a cool visual.
A little
But
more,
a little what?
like a. Well, I guess I'm like a more. Well, okay, maybe. Let's not harp on this too long. We're literally like
Yeah.
so close to
Oh,
like
yeah,
going.
we're done.
Yeah,
That ends Act 4.
it absolutely does.
I've got something to say.
Damn. Yeah, that took an hour and 35 minutes.
I killed my wife today, and
All
it
right, all
don't
right.
matter much to me as
As
long
long
as the
as it's
crates in bay.
due. All right, and we're back with Act 5.
Oh yeah, the final story.
And I'll actually recommend this. Or, well, actually, I guess I'll probably put this at the beginning of the podcast. But just to reiterate, if you would like, feel free to listen to our show in acts. That way, you can stretch out our usually pretty lengthy runtimes. That being said, let's jump into our fifth story. They're creeping up on you.
That's right.
Well,
Now,
please. Oh, wait, do you want to? Oh, no, you go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, funny tidbit. To the few friends that I've gotten to show this to so far, all of them were able to get through this movie fine until this story. Even with Fluffy being like, "Oh, that's the gory story." No, this story, a lot of them couldn't handle. In fact, my
Really?
friend, who I will not name because he wouldn't like it, he
Hmm.
actually full on left the room.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the concept of this one is really good because what we're going to be dealing with here is something that literally everyone at one point or another will probably experience.
So let us
But
hear what the creep has to say.
I was going to say, yeah. Well, kiddies, it seems you've caught me moonlighting. Let me tell you, this job is enough to drive you bugs. The little suckers hide everywhere. But take it from me, kiddies, you've got to stay alert because they're creeping up on you.
Oh, and yeah. So as you can guess, this episode, it's about bugs, and the two friends that I got to show this to, they both had an issue with bugs, and they both could not stand. At least one of them, like, actually sat through it. The other one full on said, "Nope, you can watch this by yourself. I'm going to eat a brownie." Um, we open with the oh well, there's two official actors that we see on screen in this story, but we open on our one man show, E.G.
Ellen's
Marshall,
father-in-law. Ellen's father-in-law from Christmas Vacation.
Helen's father-in-law from Christmas Vacation,
Yep.
E.G. Marshall's character, Upson Pratt,
Mm-hmm.
who is a rich company owner who lives in a germ-free, quote unquote, apartment in New York City. And this apartment is like futuristic by 80s standards, of course,
Absolutely.
all white, germ-free, germ-proof. This man lives a full-on anti-COVID lifestyle.
And it's $3,200, which I did the research. I adjusted for inflation, and it would be about $9,880 a month today.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Actually, weirdly enough,
Um,
$3,200 a month is probably close to the actual average price of like a standard apartment where we are.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll
Um,
like look on like, oh, what would that be if we lived there? And yeah, sometimes it is that. Um, nevertheless,
gee, I
though,
tell you, prices nowadays. Ugh.
yeah. Nevertheless, though, yeah, we see our character spraying down a roach, and very intently, mind you,
Yeah,
and
because he
they are not
can't
having any of
stand.
this.
He can't stand something that isn't white inside this. Oh, okay, I'm gonna save that comment for later because saying that out loud, I just realized something of about our only other on-screen character that appears later.
What did you learn?
What?
What did you find out?
No, because I just said out loud, he can't stand anything that isn't white in
Mm-hmm.
his area. And who knocks on his door? And who does he make racist comments to?
There she goes.
Exactly. So there's a lot of really good in this story too, just like that one that I pointed out. I know that wasn't me being racist. That's
No,
like
no,
in the
that's actually
story.
something that comes up. We'll get to that in
Yeah,
a
I
minute.
was clarifying for the audience that like no, that's not just me like stitching things together that aren't there. No, they plant this like firmly into this movie. Um, like you said, he sprang down a cockroach
Yeah.
and he's like, I got the sucker. And what happens next? You take me through because I know I'll lose a lot throughout this story.
Well, I was actually going to say, yeah. We get a phone call from one of his business associates, and we find out that one of Upson Pratt's employees, George, oh, Norman Kassenmeyer. Sorry, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know why I thought it was George, but yeah, Norman Kassenmeyer. And we find out that he unfortunately took his own life, and that he I can't actually as unfortunate as it's gonna sound, I don't actually remember why that one financial guy calls him to tell him about this. All I know is that I remember being like, "Oh wow, wait a minute, the guy passed away. Let me see if I can get a poster of this."
And I actually like the way the scene like tells you because Upson Pratt is busy like, can't you see I'm busy here? Can't you? And he's like, Mr. Pratt, Mr. Pratt, Mr. Pratt. He's like, what? And you hear him say, Norm Kassenmeyer shot himself, and then the lightning flashes.
That's right. Yeah, it's like a little like haunting and ominous thing.
Yeah, and he's like, "What?" He genuinely seems kind of like concerned for a second and like shocked,
Mhm.
and then he goes right back to like his smug, like rude, like demeanor.
Only thing that I'll say actually really quick is I've always just kind of been wondering this. I should have mentioned this earlier. Are we looking at real bug spray?
When he's spraying the bugs, what do you mean?
Yes, because it's in these like really like suspicious gray cans.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm
I
what?
don't think so because, well, I was gonna say they were trying to be humane with, but they literally got all blasted at the end of shooting. So, um, I don't know what's in that can because it makes the bug stop. Like
That
it
is
makes
true.
the
Yeah,
bug
because I was like,
react.
there's no way that they killed it, but I was like, they had like 10,000 roaches, then maybe. So I think you know what? I guess they probably did use a bug spray, but anyway, all of that aside, yeah, we get the call. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a shame, but like, he was kind of it was kind of just a small problem really to take care of.
Yeah, and doesn't is this the same guy that tells him that he's like, I'm taking my kids to Disney World, or was that someone
Yes, that
else?
is. I do believe that is the same guy. I could be wrong. Um, yeah, only because when he calls him really early, then they're like, well, it's actually nighttime here. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, he's like, I got a bug problem. I gotta go.
yeah.
Talk to you
That
later,
being said, though,
George. And there's a bug on his hand.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Mhm.
this giant cockroach crawls up his leg and then onto his hand.
Yeah. And he's about to press the hang up button and he sees it on his hand and he's like, okay, goodbye, sir. And this bug is on his hand and he's slowly moving and he flicks it down this little like air compact trash thing on his desk
Yeah, he's got
where
this little
like,
like vacuum powered like garbage chute on his desk. And not only
yeah,
does it never get explained, but he also just puts random stuff in it whenever.
yeah, like tissues. He puts the bug in there and he sprays it and presses the button to turn the vacuum on at the same time. Saying, do we get the call from Mr. Casimire's wife at this part?
Yes, we get Katzenmeyer's wife, and she is really mad at him. She's like, "Oh, I can't believe it! You broke him!" And then yeah, like I said, he's like, "Oh, he was just a little fly on the wall, or should I say, roach on the wall?"
And she's like, he came in uh looking
Devastated.
depressed, looking devastated, and all he said was your name. 10 minutes later, I heard the shot,
Mm-hmm.
and Mr. Pratt says, he says this. He goes, "Well, he did go out with a bang," or something like that.
Yeah, he does some sort of Jack Nicholson Joker line.
And then she loses. She's like, "I hate you. I hope you die. I hate you." And he goes, Mr. Pratt. He's like, "This is Cassimire, missing Cassinjammer." uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I,
like
I
he keeps
I bet you
changing
that was
it.
an improv.
Yeah, he keeps changing it to be like more and more like, "Oh, see, I'm getting your name wrong because I don't respect you, lol."
Right.
Yeah,
It's a funny it's a funny troll that I've always appreciated Mr. Cassinjammer.
yeah.
um,
It's like Fletch with Chevy Chase. He's like, "Hey, I'm Doctor Rosen," and they're all like Doctor Rosen something. So he's like, "Oh yes, I'm Doctor Rosen. Oh yes, Doctor Rosen. Yes, Doctor Rosen. PP." But
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
he does that, and then when he gets off the phone and all said and done, we cut to him blending up some food. You know, he's making a little bowl for himself. That was what he was eating that I was like trying to look for. That's why I was like, because I was like trying to look closer. I'm like, what did they use for that initially? Because it looks like dark brown when he's actually eating in the bowl, but
Right.
like what he blended was like really like light. And I was like, oh, there's no way. And then he, after getting out all of the roach pieces on like a spoon, then he looks in the bag and it's all roaches crawling out. And they start playing the
Oh.
stinger shock and everything. The little wee, 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 wee,
Yeah,
wee.
the noises for this particular segment is really, really creepy.
Yeah.
Um, I do believe on my vinyl record, there's like a good, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 minutes of that sound.
And yet
Towards
they
the end.
don't have something to tide you over. Is very
Right. I
amazing.
could be wrong though. I honestly could be wrong. Don't quote me on this.
I won't
But
quote you.
yeah. Uh, he's trying to smash the bugs, and I like sometimes when he like, or not sometimes, just this time where when he steps on a bug, it plays this backwards piano sound, this like right when it like is in timing with when he steps on the bug. You know what I mean?
Yes, because here's what gets me. I accidentally skipped ahead in the scene, and I did get to another part with that little stinger. And
Uh-huh.
I'll actually ask you this: so we get to a segment in which there are a lot of roaches at once, and let me ask you, okay? So because they kind of jump around, I'll be honest with this one. You can tell they were ready to like, all right, let's be done with this.
Right.
And it's had this amazing story with the Yeti, and now we got this roach stuff. Um, are the bugs in his mind? Like, have we actually opened up the theory or whatever?
That's true. Um, the thing about that
Because he
is,
smashes one, he lifts up his hand, and the glove is like not dirty.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Everyone points that scene out too. Um, I don't know because there's that scene where he smashes a bug and then he looks at his hand and it's clean and he's like, "Huh? What?" And then there's like that ungodly amount of roaches that show up when the power gets knocked out. And yeah,
And it's
there's
actually
a
funny
storm.
because he calls the police and he's like, "Oh yeah, there's roaches all over the place." Ah, and when he's like kind of like gibbering, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, these are the cockroaches. They're the biggest ones I've ever seen." Then he starts like gibbering, and it sounds like Sims. It's like Simlish. He's like, "Dara, dara, da, da, dara."
It does sound like Simlish.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
so odd. Um,
Also,
but
we kind of skipped a scene.
oh yeah, we skipped.
Um,
Yeah, sorry. Going back at first before it gets this far, he contacts his. Is it his landlord or his maintenance guy?
I think it's a maintenance guy.
Okay.
I'm not too sure though. No, it's not a landlord because he says specifically to him, people of color who do your type of work, which
Yeah,
means like,
service jobs.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, service jobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So he sends a call out to his maintenance guy, and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Pratt, let me help you, Mr. Pratt." And he's like, "I'll be right back right after I help this other lady with her shower." I'm like, all right, just go ahead and do it, but do it right now. He's like, "Absolutely, Mr. Pratt." And then he marshals like, "People go far. People like you go far in jobs like this. People of color." And he's like, "Yes, we do, Mr. Pratt." Freaking, um, yeah. But he starts like dogging him later, and it's actually pretty funny.
I
Um,
love I love the bit where um he's like he says something and he puts his mouth up to the door camera and goes, "Oh no, sir, Mr. Pratt, sir.
yeah,
I
that
wasn't
was
thinking
another
he's just
question I had.
crazy, not at all."
What was going on with that little retro futuristic intercom service? But it's not really an intercom; it's just lazy.
Oh yeah, because he actually calls him crazy in this scene too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What a great
actually,
character.
I've got a Mr. Pratt theory that I want to open up, but I'll do it at the end of the story. But yeah, anyway, back to the part where he's got like all the roaches and they're like really coming out there. So he sends another call out for the same guy, and he's like, "Oh, where are you? Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Brad, the power's out. That's all I can do until the power comes back."
I'm stuck in the darn elevator.
Yeah, he's stuck in the elevator. So he's like, "Oh, okay, well, here we go again." Um, and the roaches are just getting closer and closer, and he's like, "Oh, all right, I'll tell you what I'll do." And he runs over to this little panic room set up
Yeah.
that he has, and then he like puts himself in there, and he's like, "You'll never get me here, never. When this blackout is over, people are gonna pay. Oh yes, and you'll pay too. Every one of you bugs."
He's like in there. He really thinks he's got away, and then he gets this call in his little panic bedroom place, and it's Mrs. Cassenjammer again. And he picks up. He's like, "Talk to me." He never says like hello or what. He just goes, "Talk to me."
Yeah,
And he goes, "Talk to me," and it's the same repeated line of her going, "I hope you die. I hope you die." And he notices there's this like on the bed, the sheets are moving,
mm-hmm.
and he removes the sheets, and it's
And it's just a
covered.
bed. It's a
It's
bed
just a
of
bed of roaches.
varied size cockroaches.
And we get the really cool, the only shock background scene of this episode where it's like a swirly red and black like swirl motion behind his head, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's framed by like artist rendering cockroaches,
Yeah,
and he starts freaking out, and the cockroaches start like climbing all over him, and he starts choking, I guess, because I guess one got in his mouth, and he that's it, he's done. He keels over, and the whole apartment's still covered in roaches. And all of a sudden, all the power in New York City kicks back on, and all the roaches are gone, completely gone. Now,
yeah. I mean, it really like it kind of like cleans itself up in a really like odd way. But then we
mhm,
get to, I'll be honest, a bit of an underwhelming scene, despite how great the practical effects for it are.
really,
Yeah, don't get me wrong. No, in concept, it's cool. When we see him like lying down the bed, and then a bunch of cockroaches like burst out of him and start like crawling through his nose and his ears, and like his chest.
yeah,
Which
we're meant to think. Well, I mean, we're not meant to think. Basically, all the cockroaches that were covering the apartment somehow went into Mr. Pratt, like in his body, and then they all like, because you see one like come out of, like, you see a couple come out of his mouth, you
yeah,
see like one bursting out of his head, and then like they pour out of his heart. They're crawling all over the place, and they just start like flooding that safe room. You can see like it's like up to like your thighs in that room of just nothing but cockroach.
yeah,
And
it gets really like rough. It gets really rough. Um,
yeah,
yeah, but afterwards, sorry, I'm just gonna trying to catch myself up here.
yeah.
Um,
But yeah,
yeah,
all the
we
while that guy, that that service guy comes back, and he's like, "Oh, what's the matter, Mr. Pratt? Bug got your tongue?"
yeah, he says it as if he has any idea what's going on. Which, all right, for anyone wondering, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have anything to do
Right.
with like what the whole cockroach problem is. But it's kind of a it's not a bad, yeah. But yeah, no, he's like, "Bug got your tongue," and then he calls him he calls him a honky. That's what he calls him. Yeah. Um, and then it
What
does
was
the
your
little.
theory?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, I was
sorry.
gonna say.
Go ahead and
Well, I
finish.
was just gonna say it does a little outro. But no, my theory is that Upson Pratt is crazy, but like his whole living situation is all in his mind. How rich he really is, the penthouse
Uh-huh.
he's living in. I think he's just entirely insane, and I'll tell you why. The
He's in
man
a
of
lunatic.
care we see him have throughout this entire skit never goes away. He never even calls attention to it or tries to do anything with it.
The what?
What's that?
What the what that he has?
The
Sorry, I
manic
didn't get
hair.
that.
That like manic hairstyle that he has for some reason. At first I'm like, oh no, he just woke up. No, but like he has,
Oh.
I don't know. Like he's definitely going crazy as far as the bugs, but I think I don't know, for some reason
So
my headcanon it works that like, oh, you're not in any you're just a regular guy, but you're so disillusioned that you think you've got your own company and everything and it's all yeah.
right. Actually, your theory is a pretty popular theory amongst Creepshow fans.
Is it really?
Some, yeah, some people, and I've heard this before on other podcasts and other videos. Some people like to think that this is Upson Pratt in his own loony bin in like an asylum. And the reason why like the service guy is talking so like, oh, don't worry, Mr. Pratt, like so demeaning is because he's like an asylum worker and he's like, don't talk to me like I'm crazy. Oh, you're not crazy, Mr. Pratt. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
very popular
honestly,
theory.
yeah, it's a pretty I mean, yeah, it's not a bad theory overall.
Like
But
the all white room
yeah,
and the
exactly.
fact
The
that
all white
like
room too. It could just be
the
like
fact
one
that
dream
what
sequence.
drove him crazy is what kills him in the end too.
Mhm.
Apparently, if that's what we're going with, what drove him crazy is his
Yeah.
demise.
Yeah,
Because like
absolutely.
that's an ungodly amount of bugs.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that's real. But anyways,
Yeah, they like fill up like a fifth of the room.
exactly. Yeah, like up to like your knees or like half up to your thighs.
Hmm.
Um, and that
But
caps off the final
afterwards,
story.
yeah, until afterwards, we get the flipping of the comic book pages. We get the oh, never mind. No, it's just Creepshow sitting in somebody's lawn, a pile of dog poop. And then we get two garbage guys who walk past. One of them is
One of
some
them
guy, and the
is
other
some
is
Tom Savini
that's right.
eating an onion. He steps in the dog poo. He's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
look at this! That's the comic book." Or no, I think the other guy picks it up. But
To be honest, it's a pretty cool find. If I were a garbage
yeah,
person and I found a comic book, like a paper comic book, I honestly think that'd be a pretty good find. But one thing I will say, how weird they talk to the garbage truck. They're like, "Hey, got some for how hungry you are," and he's like, "Oh, here you go." And then as he starts like dissolving the trash, he's like, "Show your food before you swallow," and stuff like that. It's like, all right,
he like
I'm like,
he like hits it with the trash can lid.
yeah, I'm like, all right. Let's get cast out of here. Um, yeah. Anyway, they start reading the comic book. They're like, "Oh, hey, here's all the gag gifts that no one bought."
No,
Um,
Tom Savini, because he has his headphones on. He's like, check out a comic book. Tom Savini's like, what? A comic book? What? A comic book? And Tom Savini goes, a comic book.
yeah. Um, but after we get the comic book, they're like looking through it, and they're like, "Oh man, what can we get? What can we get? Oh, voodoo doll. Oh, somebody said
No,
wait for it already."
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We
and then
can't.
cut back to the
Tired of
crep.
getting sand kicked in your face.
Yeah, we get the horror crep dad, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm so sore. I don't know what's going on." And it's like, honestly, pretty entertaining. The little like fades that they're gonna do. They show the son stabbing a voodoo doll
Yeah, that he
because as
sent
we've known
for.
from the beginning, this has all been like the kid like reading the books and stuff.
Right.
But he's like, "Oh, okay, this will teach you to throw away my comic books." We get one final shock scene that goes between Joe Hill and Stephen King, and then we zoom out, and the creep blows out a candle, and then we
Yeah.
get the credits.
Yeah. A last bit of really wonderful animation work by Rick Catazone. with
Yeah.
this candle blowout scene. I love that shot of the creep in his like castle and his candelabra, and he just
Yeah. It
um
looks freaking amazing.
it does look amazing. And that is Creepshow,
It
my
is Creepshow.
favorite movie of all time. And the reason, because like you're probably like, why, like out of all movies, why that movie? Why not like Inception? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Basically, I was introduced to this movie when I was a very young kid, and it's just the way that you get multiple stories at once. It's like funny, scary, the bright colors, the fact, because you know me, as I said, I love the ocean. One story is dedicated to the ocean.
Hmm.
It There's just something about this movie that struck such a hard chord with me that it has remained one of my favorite things of my whole life,
Yeah.
like even to this day.
Yeah. Well, I will say this though, just because I want to make it, I want to make like a mental note of it earlier, like an hour ago, because I was thinking about like, oh, what
Mhm.
are we gonna do for the podcast? Um, well, let me ask you this: how many skulls out of 10 would you give it?
I mean, of course, I can't give this anything lower than a 10 out of 10 skull. I mean, this movie is, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's perfect to me. And
I
it's
understand that. Yeah.
it's like you said, you well, it's not like you said, it's like we've heard this is the best horror anthology movie out there.
Yeah.
And of course, whenever I hear a strong statement like that, I'm like, okay, maybe that's not true. But like after I've seen like the majority of like the other ones and I compare them to this movie, they're absolutely right. This is the best horror anthology movie like ever. Like this is a number one top tier list. And I'm not saying that to be biased because like I said, I question that statement and I have to agree.
Yeah. I completely understand because this is honestly probably my favorite horror movie now, just because of the stylistic choices it makes, the acting jobs that everyone
Mm-hmm.
does in this movie, and just the effects as a whole, be it the big ones or the really subtle ones. I'd honestly also probably have to give this 10 skulls. Which again, so
Yeah.
now we have the MVP versus LVP.
Okay. This one's gonna be hard because there's multiple characters that are like excellent throughout these movies. Um, how about we go? Can we choose our MVP versus what's the name of the other? What's want to keep or what's the two?
It was the
The MVP
yeah,
versus
the most
the
valuable player versus the least valuable player.
okay, yeah, LVP. So should we do MVP LVP for each story?
No, just overall.
Oh, okay. Sure, let's make it really tough on me. Yeah, sure. Um, I'd have to say my MVP has got to be. Mm, see, it's a tough choice between Adrian Barbeau's character and Leslie Nielsen's character. I think it's a really tough choice between that because they both did a good job. Um, of course, Adrian Barbeau because that has a bit more of a personal connection to me because I met the actress and that. Um, but I think I'll go with Leslie Nielsen because he his acting chops in this movie. I mean, they're again perfect. And my least valuable player probably have to go with. I don't want to dog on him. No, I think
Constance
we're gonna go
Wu.
with no. No, I think we're gonna go with Mike the janitor
Yeah. No,
because
it's
he's
actually
so
funny you should say that.
senile.
It's actually funny you should say that because that's who my LVP was going to be at first, but I do have an idea.
Oh, okay. So who's your MVP?
MVP is I would have to say my probably my most voted player is Leslie Nielsen because not just was he the it's just was he the best facially person to watch on screen, but he's just got that like really cool like expressionism down.
That's right.
Yeah, and then my LVP is the Creepshow Creep for being different every time and being an old hag in the second movie.
Okay, but not in the franchise overall. We got to stick with the one movie. But even in this movie, his design is inconsistent. Come on, the creep is cool. You can't dog the creep.
No, I like the Creep. Just I guess okay, I guess not the Creep, but the Creep after Creepshow 1. So like Creepshow 2 Creep and Creepshow 3 Creep. I had to
All
give
right,
it a
well,
thought for a second because I'm like, that does sound too harsh.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
other than that, though,
those characters are not even in this movie, but we'll go with it.
yeah. Other than that, though, yeah, I think this pretty much concludes our review of Creepshow. Thank you
That's right.
guys very much for listening. Me and Dane will be back next week to talk about Ghostbusters.
Oh, you name dropped it.
Yep.
Crazy.
And we hope you folks enjoyed.
Thank you very much for listening to all of you creepy peepers out there.